Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Before starting the video, please hit the subscribe. Now this start video. Chicago Fire Season 13, Episode 11, titled In the Trenches, Part 1, marks the beginning of the first Chicago crossover event in years. With such a long-awaited return to the franchise's signature crossover format, expectations are understandably sky-high. Fans of Chicago Fire, Chicago PD, and Chicago Med have been eagerly anticipating this event, hoping for a story that delivers the high-stakes drama, intense action, and character interactions that have made past crossovers so memorable. As the original series in the One Chicago universe, Chicago Fire bears the responsibility of setting the stage for the crossover. And, In the Trenches, Part 1 does so with a mix of explosive action, character-driven moments, and the inevitable exposition required to set up a three-part story. The episode feels very much like the first act of a three-act play, with all the strengths and weaknesses that come with that structure. On the one hand, it wastes no time in raising the stakes and throwing viewers into the thick of the action. On the other hand, it struggles to balance the need for setup and exposition with the desire to keep the momentum going. While the episode succeeds in delivering the kind of high-octane drama fans expect from a crossover, it also highlights some of the challenges inherent in telling a story that spans 3 hours of television and involves 3 separate casts. As with any One Chicago crossover, In the Trenches, Part 1 revolves around a catastrophic event that brings the characters from Chicago Fire, Chicago PD, and Chicago Med together. This time, the crisis is a massive gas explosion caused by thieves attempting to cover up their theft of a Bitcoin-filled hard drive from a government building. The explosion sets off a chain reaction of events, including a subway train getting stuck underground, which further complicates the situation and raises the stakes for everyone involved. The premise is both fresh and familiar. While the idea of a gas explosion is not new to the One Chicago universe, the inclusion of Bitcoin theft and its connection to the explosion adds a modern twist to the story. However, this also makes the plot slightly more convoluted than some of the franchise's previous crossovers. Viewers are required to keep up with explanations about Bitcoin, natural gas, and subway infrastructure, all while processing the usual flood of information that comes with large-scale emergencies. This can make the episode feel a bit overwhelming at times, especially for those who are not familiar with the technical details of the story. Despite the complexity of the plot, the episode does a good job of keeping the action front and center. From the moment the explosion occurs, the tension is palpable, and the stakes are immediately raised. The firefighters, paramedics, and police officers are all thrown into chaos, and the episode does an excellent job of showcasing the interconnectedness of their roles in responding to such a disaster. The crossover also introduces a few new faces, including Nate Cordry as Mr. Milken, the executive director of the City Employee Benefits Department. While Cordry's role is relatively small, his presence adds a touch of star power to the episode and helps to ground the story in the larger One Chicago universe. One of the most exciting aspects of any One Chicago crossover is the opportunity to see characters from different series interact with one another. In the Trenches, Part 1 delivers on this front, bringing together familiar faces from Chicago Fire, Chicago PD, and Chicago Med in ways that feel both organic and satisfying. The episode wastes no time in introducing these interactions, with characters from Chicago Med and Chicago PD showing up early on to assist with the crisis. One of the standout pairings in the episode is between Dr. John Frost, Darren Barnett, from Chicago Med, and the paramedics of Ambulance 61. While the idea of a doctor doing a ride along with paramedics might stretch believability for some viewers, it provides an excellent opportunity for Barnett to showcase Frost's serious side. Similarly, the inclusion of Amy Morton's Trudy Platt from Chicago PD is a welcome addition, even if her role in the episode is somewhat limited. Platt's no-nonsense attitude and sharp wit are always a delight to watch, and her presence adds a layer of depth to the crossover. Among the Chicago Fire regulars, Taylor Kinney's Kelly Severide and Dermot Mulroney's Chief Dom Pascal take center stage. Kinney, as always, delivers a strong performance, capturing Severide's determination and leadership as he navigates the chaos of the explosion. Mulroney, meanwhile, shines in his role as Chief Pascal, whose commanding presence and authoritative demeanor drive much of the narrative forward. Pascal's leadership style is a stark contrast to that of the beloved Chief Wallace Bowden, and Mulroney does an excellent job of making the character feel distinct and compelling. The episode also gives David Eigenberg's Christopher Herman a chance to shine, acknowledging his recent promotion within the firehouse. Herman's character has always been a fan favorite, and it's refreshing to see him take on a more prominent role in the crossover. However, not all characters are given the same level of attention. Some, like Darren Ritter and the paramedics of Firehouse 51, are relegated to the background, appearing only briefly to move the plot along before disappearing again. Perhaps the most surprising omission is Joe Cruz, Joe Manoso, who is entirely absent from the crossover due to his suspension in the previous episode. While it's commendable that the show is honoring the consequences of Cruz's actions, his absence is felt, especially given his status as one of the original cast members. While In the Trenches, Part 1 delivers plenty of action and excitement, it also falls into some predictable patterns that longtime One Chicago fans will recognize. The episode opens with Stella Kidd, Miranda Ray Mayo, and Kelly Severide discussing their plans to get away, a conversation that immediately signals Stella's impending peril. This trope of characters discussing their future plans just before disaster strikes is a well-worn one, and its inclusion here feels somewhat formulaic. Similarly, the episode's decision to put Trudy Platt in danger feels like a retread of past storylines, particularly given her role in a previous crossover event. The episode also struggles with the need to set up the larger story, which means that it can't resolve any of the major plot points by the end of the hour. Instead, it has to make things worse, leading to a few moments where characters make questionable decisions in order to keep the plot moving. While this is somewhat inevitable in the first part of a three-part event, it can be frustrating for viewers who are eager to see the story progress. Despite these shortcomings, In the Trenches, Part 1 still manages to deliver on its promise of bringing the One Chicago characters together for an action-packed, high-stakes adventure. The episode's strengths lie in its ability to balance the chaos of the disaster with the quieter, character-driven moments that have always been at the heart of the franchise. Whether it's Severide's concern for Stella, Herman's determination to prove himself in his new role, or the brief but memorable interactions between characters from different series, the episode reminds viewers why they fell in love with the One Chicago universe in the first place. As the episode concludes, the stage is set for even greater challenges and emotional stakes in the next installments of the crossover. The unresolved tension, the lives hanging in the balance, and the intricate web of the thieves' plot promise to keep viewers on the edge of their seats. While In the Trenches, Part 1 may rely on some familiar tropes and exposition-heavy storytelling, it effectively reignites the excitement of the One Chicago universe. The crossover's success ultimately hinges on how well the next two episodes build on this foundation, delivering the heart-pounding action and heartfelt character moments that define the franchise. For now, fans can revel in the thrill of seeing their favorite characters unite once again, ready to face whatever challenges come their way. In the Trenches, Part 1 is a solid start to the long-awaited One Chicago crossover event. While it may not be the most groundbreaking or innovative installment in the franchise, it delivers exactly what fans have come to expect from a crossover: plenty of action, high-stakes drama, and the chance to see beloved characters from different series come together. The episode sets the stage for the next two parts of the crossover, leaving viewers eager to see how the story will unfold. As the first act of a three-part story, In the Trenches, Part 1 does its job well, even if it occasionally stumbles under the weight of its own exposition. The episode's strengths, its strong character interactions, intense action sequences, and modern twist on a familiar premise outweigh its weaknesses, making it a worthwhile watch for fans of the franchise. While it may not be the most clever or terrifying crossover in one Chicago history, it succeeds in reminding viewers why they keep coming back for more. And after such a long wait, that's more than enough to make it worth the ride.